was a rumble in the jungle. Once I heard Dad was outside again counting birds, and Mama plugged in a nightlight, and I saw the queen of the world. Mama plugged in the
Welcome back to the
nightlight,
Golden
and I
Hour Birth
saw the
Podcast with
queen
Liz
of the
and
world.
Natalie. Today's episode is part 2 of Bonnie's birth story. If you haven't listened to that one, definitely go back and listen to it. I'll give you a little recap just to catch you up. So Bonnie and her husband met in college and married in 2018. They decided to start trying for a family around 2020. And when they went in for their confirmation appointment, they were met with the news of a miscarriage and decided to move forward with a D&C. They tried again and got news in 2020 that they were expecting again, with the baby due in August. Around 27 weeks, Bonnie went to bed one night and felt so terrible. She called the hotline and was told that she could come in the morning or go to the hospital. She felt as things were getting more serious and left for the hospital at 2 a.m. She was quickly sent to L&D and after a few tests was told that she could have a stroke or a seizure at any moment. The labor and delivery team kept her comfortable, prepared her that she would be having her baby that weekend. She had to transfer to a hospital due to the NICU team and had to go under anesthesia for her delivery. Her daughter Sabrina was born at 27 and 4. Bonnie had a fairly easy recovery, but Sabrina was in the NICU for the next 4 months. They made it through a long road of recovery ahead of them, but at 18 months, Sabrina is thriving and excited to become a big sister, which she is now. Bonnie was pregnant during the recording of our episode and hoped to make it further along in her pregnancy for number 2. She did recently give birth to her second daughter in December at 29 weeks. I just wanted to mention that there are a couple audio issues in this episode, so just bear with us. But in this part 2, we pretty much grilled Bonnie about her postpartum and her second pregnancy. So we'll just jump right in. Thanks.
Oh, from the HELLP syndrome, I did actually bounce back pretty quickly from that part of it. My blood work, they were still taking I looked had track marks all up and down my arms. They did draw so much blood, and my veins were so terrible for a little bit. But they were just constantly taking my blood work, and so my liver and my blood, the big things with HELLP syndrome started to even pretty quickly. And then my blood pressure was still really elevated. So I was on the blood pressure, and I had to be on magnesium for 24 hours after birth, I want to say, maybe a little bit longer. And it was one of those things where, because I was on I don't even know what the floor was, but it wasn't the normal labor and delivery or postpartum floor. It was the antepartum sounds right. I think that's where I was at right after her. And it's I was on magnesium, for 24, 36 hours, I don't know. So when I got off of it, I was oh, this is what it feels like to be normal again. Okay. It was very strange, very, very strange. And then, because it was I was just in the bed and I couldn't go see her, couldn't be somewhat more mobile. Yeah. Be able to not be the catheter and be hooked up to everything in the world over here. So, and then we were able to go down and see her, but I was in the DHN. But yeah, so I started to feel better, probably 36-ish hours, but they weren't able to intubate me very well. So my mouth and just my throat, I just hurt. So they had to, I can't even know what it's called. Although the matter is in my file now. It's if I ever have to be intubated again, use this type of, which is why my teeth probably got checked up. Oh. So I did start to feel better though. Some people, it takes quite a while. And I was actually fortunate too with my blood pressure. I was on very, very high doses, 3 times a day for maybe a month. It's hard to remember, maybe a month. But I feel compared to other people, what I've heard, I was able to wean off of those high doses fairly quickly compared to what other people have. So, nice.
So how long were you in the HELLP?
5 days.
Wow.
Yeah, right. I know what. Yes. Yeah. One, it was like one of those things where it was like so good to be home, but also like really weird because like you're living without your baby. And like even they call it like the hotel because like when we were there, you know what I mean? Like he and I are there like round the clock and it's like we could see her anytime we wanted. Like no restrictions. Well, other restrictions other than like we have to still like be able to be global, obviously. But and then like, you know, the cafeteria is open and all that stuff. So it's like our hours were just like completely out of whack. But again, like we could go down and see her like whenever, you know, and the my milk and everything. Like he's like running the milk downstairs to the milk room, which we joke is like the Willy Wonka factory of mercy. Just like this great, like sterile milk room.
I do remember that. I remember it. I worked with Mama Baby.
Yeah.
Can you run this down?
Yeah. Yes. 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 And then it's like, what? There's like a little window that they open there. And it's like very lecture because they have some things to do. And it's just like all light side with these bright lights and all this like sciencey stuff. You could say, no factory. But yeah, so it was nice to be home, but it was just very, very strange. And then I couldn't drive because like with my C-section and my blood pressure and I don't even remember. Yeah. But like I couldn't drive for like a week or two until I got cleared by my doctor. So like Tyler was driving me some, but she actually didn't just leave right away because she had to leave consecutively. And so we're like, well, we'll take it when she comes home. Like he would drive me a little bit. My mom drove me a little bit. My mother-in-law did. And then one of my friends, Caitlin, wasn't working at the time. So she was able to drive me some days too, which was nice. And so I could drive again. Second adult. How long would you stay there at a time? Oh, it just depended. I mean, some days I would just stay there like the entire day, you know, like to dinner time or whatever. Other times, though, like I would maybe like stay home during the day and like rest at the top. And then like he and I would go out, like he would, you know, be off at like 4 or whatever. And then he and I would go up until like midnight. At what point were you able to like hold her? So we were actually able to hold her pretty quickly. Hopefully, I think so. I don't know if it was like day 2 or 3. I was still in the hospital. I was still hospitalized. We were able to hold her, but she had a lot of like stuff hooked up to her. So like they had to be like careful, and, like pretty much like set her on us. How much did she weigh? 2.5 pounds. That's insane. It is, you know, they're like, she's the 90th percentile. And we were like, I'm sorry, what? Like, for what? Right? No, but yeah, so for 27 weeks, she was big. Thank God. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like for long too, like for how early she was, we were so fortunate. Like she did not have to have like the machines and everything that like, as long as expected that she was going to have them.
Yeah.
Strong one. Boy, is she fatter now. So no lung capacity issues whatsoever. Yes. How she's not a baby? She does not. So we got it out. We got home with her like end of September. And then I'm trying to think of the timeline of it all. So we really only used it at home for a couple months, maybe like 6 weeks, pretty like consecutively or consistently, sorry. Which that shit. Crazy. Like those like learning experiences like you never think that you'd have to have. Like we had to go like to class at Mercy. Like here's how you should use the feeding tube and here's how you open it. How you clean it. And yeah. How did she fight? Throw it. Well, it's just like a little butt. So I guess I should clarify. So it's like it kind of looks like a little
I guess I'm just like, how did you do all that? Like coming home with that 5-month-old, 4 months?
yeah, 4.5. Pardon.
And you usually just like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And she did really well with her transition, thank God. But the feeding tube, it's very small on her. It was just like when it was hooked up, like during the feedings and stuff, obviously we'd have to like, kind of like have to like ring a certain way or like we would be putting her a certain way. But then like once we were done with the feeding, we could like unhook it. So there wasn't like any like tubing or whatever. You used to like press the button closed again. Does that make sense? So it wasn't uncomfortable for her.
Yeah. So what did you guys do after that? Was it like formula?
So a mixture. So I pumped until like, right before she came home. So she was getting my milk, but then also I'd had enough saved up. So she was able to actually have my milk through the end of December, even though I stopped pumping in like in September. Um, thank God. I mean, there was one point where I was like, nothing's coming. What do I do?
It's the magnesium.
It is. One, I mean, you're still like, my body was like, wait a minute. Why do you want milk now? Right? I'm not supposed to feed something yet. Yeah. So fortunately, it like came in really well afterward. It took a little bit of time. Yeah.
I remember bringing
You did. You were so sweet. Yes. Like, oh, help her. And she did. Let's see. Yeah. It did help a lot. And fortifier milk. Oh, all sorts of stuff. Yeah. And it changed quite a bit too. Like just depending on like what blood tests were coming back with, and I mean all sorts of stuff. And then so at one point she was getting my milk, but then because of like her feeding issues, like when she was still in the NICU, she was also on like formula at some point, but then like that's it, because of like the reflux and things like that. So then but there's also a stretch like where I went like dairy free because they were worried that like, there was like kind of like cow's milk allergy. So like they didn't want to give her formula with that, but then also like they didn't want my milk to have it if at all possible. All of it was, I mean, for reflux, she had a ton in the lip pie and just like the feeding disorder in general. Like the palate was really off a little bit. So like all of that put together made the feeding very just worth it. She wanted to eat. She's all picked the arrow. She definitely wanted to. But so we had formula like kind of like on and off in the NICU, like with my milk too. But then when we got home, we used my milk pretty much like by itself until like end of December. But I think it was like December-ish. She's like, so when we started like putting formula like in like a bottle or two a day, you know what I mean? To get her used to that by staff and formula. And she was on that a lot. But she also, started solid foods and to food. So we were able to like not have to use the feeding tube for very long at home. But then they like to keep it in until like after cold and flu season. So in case something were to happen, like if you were to get sick or, need something like other nutrition. So we were able to take it out at night. Just in March.
now the table food.
Oh yeah. She eats a lot. Crazy. She won't eat like bites of things. She wants everything poured up for her, like mama bird, baby bird, but like she'll eat anything. She eats a lot. Yes.
How is your mental health day? All of it.
Rough. Kind of like, I don't know. It's like, so I have always struggled with depression and anxiety. So I was actually on medicine before getting pregnant. And so my doctor had me on, that's the generic of Zoloft. It's like whatever is like the safest for pregnancy, like breastfeeding. It's a fairly low dose of it though. And then like, probably like 4 or 5 weeks postpartum, like when I would see like my OB was obviously doing check too. But then I also saw my like primary doctor and I like told her, I was like, I don't know if it's because of all the trauma that I've just been through or if it's just like being a mother or you know what I mean? Like what it is, but like I definitely feel off. And so she did like the screener on me again. And she was like, yeah, we should probably do medicine. So I've been on a higher dose. And I mean, it definitely helps for sure. And then it's stressful with the pregnancy, second pregnancy. Yeah. Because
finding out that you were pregnant again.
Really exciting because we did want to have it. So like, it was like, and we had talked about that too. And we talked with our doctors, like, what are the risks, and like the reality of like, is this going to happen again? And like I said, it's like one of those things. But I will say, and Tyler feels the same, like every appointment that we have in this pregnancy, I feel like every single one, like the doctors get like one more like nervous, if that makes sense, or more like the chance goes up. Goes up, it gets higher. Like the last appointment that we had with the high risk doctor, she was like, yeah, there's like a 40% chance. And we were like, that seems higher than what we were told before, but okay. So I don't know. But a lot of people that have like HELLP syndrome or preeclampsia, if they have it again, most times it's later than when they had it the first time, if that makes sense. So like, and that at least gives me like a little bit to stuff like where I'm like, okay, I get for their 28 time over. Yeah. I'm like, we're going for 36, guys. Like, yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm 26 weeks now.
Wow.
Which is like crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Oh, Lex over here. I know. Damn here. I know. Absolutely. Well, it's nice too. I'm monitored so closely this time that like we have ultrasounds every month, like full like anatomy ones and everything. They like measure like my fluids, like everything. And so we had one at 24, so we go at 28 weeks. I'm like, God, there's a milestone for us, like personally. And we'll go at 32. I'm like, there's the lung development. There's another milestone. Like, so it'll be like, like every big milestone, we get an ultrasound. That's nice. Yeah. I know. There we are. I know. I'm like 36. Great. Yep. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Is your blood pressure doing good?
So, yeah. So in my first pregnancy, Sabrina, I guess pregnancy technically, but with my blood pressure, it was actually really, really low, which was so crazy until like that week. And that's like when it just like spiked all of a sudden, which is kind of like why like nobody caught it. You know what I mean? 'Cause, like I'd been to the doctor like 2 to 3 weeks before that. Like I was tracking it, but like not that closely because I hadn't had any issues. This time around though, I do it twice a day to send like a log to like my high risk factor every week. So it's been beautiful up until about 2 weeks ago. It started to spike just a little bit though. And really I'm on a pretty low dose of medicine right now. Like there's a lot of room for my medicine to go up. So they did adjust it a little bit and it evened out a little bit. So,
Well, I'm lucky seeing you in the hospital.
I know. Right.
Well, for honestly, like I had an appointment on Friday and it was like the highest blood pressure. It wasn't like 140 or
Right.
1, but it was like
Compared to what your usual. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay.
Definitely.
That's a little
Yeah.
tough then. So
Yeah. Perfect. Because of blood pressure, let's hope not, right?
I know, right?
You have a cup at home?
No, I took hers last time.
Yeah.
They were like, I was like on the verge.
Did you take this out? How do you still? I was going to say, you should. That's what I would recommend to everyone with pregnancy. Yeah.
I don't know where it is.
Did you get it out?
Like, gotta get rid of everything again. I don't want any negative.
Yeah, I get it. But also, it's good to track. No, I mean, good. It's one of those things, too, where there's a lot of people in their life. Like, I mean, I don't mind sharing this, too. Like, people are more aware of it. Like, I feel like that's a better thing.
It's so,
Yeah.
all of my friends are getting pregnant and having babies right now, and I feel like I am learning so much from it.
Yeah.
And that, yeah,
And I feel like
it's making me feel
okay, that's great. But it's like, I feel like there's also so many people like that I love that I've posted that like, they probably don't know the full story because like, right when it first happened, I mean, it was such a whirlwind for us that like, I have no problem sharing the story, but like, I don't know what I told or like what details I told, like, you know what I mean? And I've had like close friends and be like, oh yeah, like, did you ever like finish telling us about that? Well, I don't know. What do you know? Yeah. So hopefully this will be a thing where we can share anything.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been interested in it. 'Cause, again, like I was saying, like we were at Megan's birthday.
Yeah.
For her. And Alex was saying that you had the baby. And I was like,
Wait a minute. What? It's like, not that well. Yeah. Yeah. Don't recommend.
and then just like following you on like social media.
Yeah.
How just seeing the progress.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy all in all that like both of you are so wonderfully beautiful and
Thank
yeah,
you.
you're doing great, but it's still like, there's so much to that.
There is. Yeah. And I think I'll feel a lot better when baby number 2 is here too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
I don't know. She's like 18 months, but like really like 15 months at gestation. So like, I don't know how much she really understands. We have a baby doll and she, you know, likes to play with that a little bit, but she's also a bit aggressive with it. So, yeah. It may or may not be a good sign. Yeah.
She looks like a mini bunny. Like she's got the red, strawberry hair.
She does. She actually, I feel like her features are Tyler, but her coloring, I don't know. So pale and such blue eyes.
Yeah. Give me a strawberry blonde.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think everybody asks you every question.
I know. I'm trying to think too if there was anything that like stood out to me, but I forgot to say.
Or if you have any recommendations for other moms going through either HELLP syndrome or just, an early delivery with being in the NICU.
So one recommendation for like everyone is like have a blood pressure cuff, like for sure. Cause it's like one of those things where, I mean, I did have high blood pressure like ahead of time, like not even super high. So I was kind of already aware of it, but there are so many people that have preeclampsia and HELLP syndrome that have had like no prior high blood pressure. So it's just like one of those things where like, even if your, OB is like telling you to do it, like I feel like just taking it like until you get home is like, at least like to be like aware of like what you typically run, like you were saying, right? Yours been a little bit high. And it's like, that though, because like, what you typically are. Whereas like a lot of people aren't aware of that, which is understandable. Yeah. But so having that, I would say is like a huge recommendation. And then like NICU, like I would just say rely on like your people. You know what I mean? Like we were so fortunate with like Shenandoah Valley, like our school was so supportive, like our family was so supportive, our friend group, like we could not have been more fortunate with like the people that like were around us, just like checking in on us and bringing us meals and things like that. So like, and it was one of those, people get in those positions where it's like, kind of don't want to accept things sometimes, or like you don't want to ask for help, but like I would recommend like absolutely, you know what I mean? Because it's like that's what your people are there for, and nobody like. There are sometimes too, I feel like, where people didn't like want to bother. So it's like they, might look late because like they're like, we need this. Like, I don't want to bother you. I know you've got a lot going on. So if you don't reach out and ask, they need it. And then also just like take care of yourself. Cause like there were days like where I did feel like really guilty as a mom, like not being at the NICU like all day. But it was also, and like the nurses recommended it too, but it's like sleep sometimes, you know what I mean? Or like, have a good normal meal at home, or like just do something that like will like, de-stress you a little bit, or just have like a little bit of time to yourself. Like one of the nurses, or I don't even know if it was a nurse, if it is one of the other place. We had so many people coming in to work with us that she was like, if you just need a day to go sit and binge and watch Netflix, you should do it. I was like, I don't think that I can probably do that because like my mind would be so many other places, but just to be recommendation, or just like little things like that, whatever it is, like helps you to be compressed. Because there are definitely days where I needed that.
I just thought of it. Yeah. So did you have time off? Like, did you have to go back to work at a certain time and then take more time when?
Great question.
Or
great question. Well, just stop doing your job. No, so I was actually, I was a teacher, and it was at the very end of the school year for me. So it was the 21st of May. And when we get out, like 2 weeks after that, maybe. So it was like, so I would have been on like maternity leave and for that. So there was that. And then it was summer. And then I put in for my FMLA, start the following school year, which then turned into me not going back at all. And then we resigning because of, yeah. So not everyone had that option. It was definitely a really hard decision for us, but it came down to like daycares, really accommodate like feeding tubes and like medical complexities. Yeah, who knew, right? Yeah. And like there was one that we were looking at, and it was literally like more than our mortgage every month, like easily. And it was like the only one that was like medically like equipped to like handle like the situation. And so like, okay, well, I'm going to have to at least take off like this amount of time, you know what I mean? Get home with her with the feeding tube and everything else. And then, so because she was born so prematurely, she qualified. Well, I shouldn't even say that. There's lots of different qualifications, but one program that we were able to qualify for is called First Steps. And it's a federal and a state funded program. 10 out of 10 recommend. Like, they've been so wonderful. You basically pay based on like your income, and then you get the therapies you need, like that you qualify for. So like she gets physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech and language, nutritionist, vision therapist, and like a child like development specialist. They all can work. And so it's wonderful. And I mean, we're fortunate to just like, great, like the case managers, technical title, but like, and then like all of our therapists are just amazing. But so because of that, like at the beginning, like when she first came home, I mean, we had like appointments that, I mean, multiple a day, a lot of times. And even now, I mean, she's made so much progress that, I mean, each week we still probably have like 4 or 5 appointments or like therapies or things like that. So it came down to like, that's like where the residency came in. Where I was like, that's a lot to accommodate. And of course they do, like there are works parents who have kids who get, their steps and other programs. And like they do go to like daycares and things like that. Or like they'll work with people's schedules, like go to grandma's house or, that we just decided that stuff. So
I never thought about that.
mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're
Right. But especially like with everything that we've gone through. Yeah. Like the cost of it, and then like the time away from her, and like the stress and like the trauma that we'd already like been through. And then it's like, and it's one of those things where like life is so precious. And like going through that and like realizing like, I mean, literally like couldn't be here. Like there is an option like that could have happened. So it was just, for us, that was just like, yeah. I can't imagine like if I had to go back to like a normal 9-to-5 job. And I mean, we were watching at Park Day too, that they like with
the year they
right. I was able to take the year, the following school year. Yeah. Right. Originally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was pushed back to like March. And then it was pushed to the end of the year. And then it was like, oh, but I'll be back next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't happen because the therapy,
Like, we'll bring you one.
oh, that's right. Come over to my house.
And I right from result only 5, like
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
I want them. And she just looked at me.
I mean, that was probably like, there's not a whole lot of like hard decisions I've had to make in my life. That was like top 3 hard decisions in my entire life, just having to decide whether or not I was actually like officially like leaving. And I love it. It's still hard. Yeah.
I'm excited for everyone to like finally know you.
Yeah. Me too. I know.
Yeah.
Just out there. Yeah. Know the warning sign. Oh, and biggest thing also, I would say, trust your gut. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, if that doctor had said on the phone, because of course she didn't know. You know what I mean? Like, it's a rare thing. Like, how are you going to like diagnose something like that over the phone? Like, so I don't blame her at all for being like, oh, you could sleep and go in first thing and be packed or whatever. If I had done that, like, shit could have gone real south.
Yeah. I think I was like trying to like put myself in how down
You would know.
What you were actually physically feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it was really bad heartburn and it was just like sitting there.
Yes.
I'm like, heartburn is really uncomfortable.
It is, but it doesn't feel life threatening.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. And like when I got there, even all the nurses before my blood work came back, they were like, yeah, it's probably this GI bug. It's the weird one going around.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Like,
yeah. Like nothing else that showed.
What? Well, then so no clothing we're wearing masks. The doctors kept coming in and being like, take off your mask. I wanted to see if I was swelling, because the swelling is like another big symptom. And I mean, puffy hands, puffy feet. I swell anyway a little bit, you know what I mean? Plus, like, at that point I was 27.5 weeks, like, we're gonna have like a little bit of swelling probably. But like, no, like, my eyes not swollen. Like, they kept having me take down my mask and they would like look at me and like, look at my face, and they'd ask Tyler, they'd be like, does she look swollen? And he's like, no, I don't know. Wait, exactly. Does she look fat right now? He's like, I don't know how to answer this question. And so it was like, but that's like a telltale, sign for like preeclampsia and HELLP, and I didn't really have it, which is weird because I swell other times, you know.
That's like funny that you say that. 'Cause I look at pictures of like my tail end pregnancy with West, and I'm like, I look so
Well, right. Yes.
I don't. I know. Well, because
It happened so gradually though too, you know. But so the quick onset of it, that would be.
Yeah, it's not like you just know what your body's gonna feel like when your liver is
Failing. Right. Exactly. Oh my God. Count yourself lucky. Yeah. It's a weird one.
You had a lot of pregnancy.
I know.
What?
Right.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Of course. You're fun.
Thank you so much for listening today. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and tune in next week. Yeah. We'll see you next episode.